Jenny is here at the news desk.
Hello, hello.
And returning on the couch, Kenny from the Hop Knot.
Hey.
I don't even know how to say your last name, so we just call you Kenny from the Hop Knot.
Do you want to know how to say it, or do you just want to keep calling me Kenny from the Hop Knot?
I am genuinely curious.
Frasch.
Frasch.
Not Frasch.
Not
Frasch. Frasch.
Frasch. Because it looks like Frasch or something.
Mm-hmm.
I actually emitted droplets when I said that, but I will clean this after.
It's those European last names with all those consonants touching each other like that with no vowels in the middle.
Yes, exactly. It's very strange. Mm-hmm. And frankly, I object.
Well, sorry, not all of us have English last names like yours.
I know.
Phonetic English names, Connarton.
Yeah, well, people get my name wrong, actually. Well, they spell it wrong. Well, you don't spell it wrong because you've learned how to spell it, but people spell it wrong because it looks like Connarton, but it's actually Connarton, but it's Connarton, but it's pronounced like it's Connerton.
That's something you guys got to work on that.
Thank you. Yes, yes. And we also have new to the program making his debut. This is Ben from the Bookery.
How's it going, guys?
Good. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you here. And do you want to tell us a bit about the Bookery?
Yes, sir. The Bookery, we're located on 844 Elm Street. Bookery's been there roughly 3 years now, so we're still relatively new. We're an indie bookstore / cafe. We like to have a good time. It's an awesome vibe in there, and we supply all your booking needs.
Yes. It's a great place. And have you what's it been like adapting to the current the COVID situation? Because for a while you were doing curbside, right?
Correct. Right in the beginning of it, we started doing curbside. We did a little bit of the DoorDash and delivery, and then we started working on shipping our books and whatever you needed to you. At your house.
Yeah. And what's the current state of things? Are you open for people to come in again, or?
Yes, sir. We're not, I wouldn't say fully open, but we are open. We don't allow any seating inside to keep everything kind of moving. We don't want anything to be stagnant, so you can't really come in there and sit down anymore. But we did upgrade our outdoor seating tremendously. So if you want to go outside and sit down, that's
it's cute. It's so cute. I just sat out there last Friday. It's super cute.
Oh, very nice. Very good.
Yep.
Good.
So what we don't have inside, we definitely have outside.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you've been able to persevere through this and keep going. It's a very cool place. The first time I was ever there was, and you guys had been open yet for a while before I'd made it in there. But when Rob Azevedo did his release party for his book, and he had a bunch of musicians play, that was really cool. But yeah, that's a very nice place.
It is. Thank
absolutely you. Great location too. And of course, Kenny, you've got the Hop Knot. Speaking of outdoor seating, you guys got that huge. You got. I can see it from here.
It's nice. I was just telling Ben though the other day when I was there on Friday that I'm almost kind of we're fortunate to have what we have, but I'm not gonna lie, everybody that has the Jersey barriers and got to paint on the Jersey barriers, I'm super jealous of that.
Are you?
It's so cute, and your guys' looks really great too.
Thank you. That was all Dave Hattie.
Ooh, cool.
I think he also did a mural on here down the road a little bit too. But he has little traces of him all over this. All over Manchester.
Oh, that's cool. What's his name? Dave Hattie?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll have to look him up online.
We could do something creative over there. We could make our own barrels or trash barrels or something and paint them.
Something.
Yeah.
We can paint anything.
We can paint anything.
Yes, we can.
We can paint me.
We can Hindaloaf on you. You know, with the cool flowers that I like doing.
Can you do that, or is there zoning involved in that?
I don't know. Free expression.
Okay.
First
Painting
Amendment
myself.
right.
There's no zoning.
There's no zoning.
There's no tax on this.
Okay.
Well, sorry.
No.
It's inappropriate for radio.
Yes.
That sounded more like an unsheathed comment.
That did sound something more for my other show, Matt Connarton Unsheathed, which is, of course, only available on the dark web, and I'm legally prohibited from telling you how to find it.
Okay.
And it's and we also it's behind a paywall.
Okay. Oh, nice.
So yeah, just so you know, that starts around 3 a.m. But
God.
Yeah, that's
That's just when I start my day.
No.
But you are welcome to sponsor it. We are accepting sponsorships, but it's very pricey. And by the way, so you've had live music there recently, right?
Yeah.
At the Hop Knot outside.
Yeah, Fridays. Fridays we have the Ken Clark duo, Ken Clark and his wife Kim. They come and he's got his magical organ and they got a little set and it's a little duo. It's really dope. I love it.
Yeah.
It's like different than everything else you hear downtown. I like it a lot. And then on Saturdays we have Mr. Grant Lampton with his magical guitar. Everybody's magical that plays music there.
Yes, I'm familiar with him because he's been here, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
He's been on Rob Azevedo's show, Grand State of Mind. Yep. Yeah.
Great guy. And then starting next Thursday, we're going to have 90 Miles Away. They're a 90s acoustic rock band.
Ooh, neat.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's next Thursday. They're going to be starting.
Oh, you know I want my spot.
So
my spot.
they do covers. They do covers of 90s.
Yep.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yep.
This is going to be a two-night for me then, because I got to do trivia night on Wednesday. You're coming back Thursday.
You guys are going to get it one of these weeks too.
What do you mean I'm going to get it?
You guys
That
have been
sounded threatening.
No.
Why am I
no,
gonna get it?
You're going
As
to get
in
it like you're
win.
going to win. You're going to.
No.
I feel it. One of these days, you guys are going to. You
Not if I have
guys are
Hawkwood
going to
on
clinch
it,
the.
I don't know.
You guys are going to clinch the win. I feel it. You guys were like ahead a couple weeks
We
ago.
keep blowing it as soon as we get to
It's
the
those
end of
last
those
couple
last couple of
questions.
questions kill us.
That's the exciting part about it too, because I check in with Helena, our trivia jockey.
She's
I check in
awesome.
with her at the end to like see who's like before I get the prizes ready and stuff, just to check in with the score.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I don't know, man, it can go any way. And I'm like, oh, it's so exciting. It's heating up.
Yeah. But yeah.
I don't like sports, but I really like trivia at the Hop Knot. I'm really into it.
Oh yeah. Because the last time, we were ahead.
You
And
guys
then,
were in first place for like most of it.
and then we got to the bonus questions and we just died and we ended up
Yeah.
coming in fourth. So we came in fourth 2 weeks in a row. So at least we're consistent.
Hey,
There's that.
consistency is key.
Yeah, but at
Thank
least in
you.
the last time that was still halfway. There were 8 teams.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not like it was dead last.
So this time we came in the top half.
Bang.
Huh? That should count for something.
Oh, we'll be playing Wednesday. We'll be be back.
Yes, absolutely.
Hopefully the weather holds out this week.
And you've had a lot of live music at the Bookery, right?
We used to.
Yeah.
We haven't had any live music currently because of the COVID situation.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
It increases the amount of people we can have inside.
Yeah.
And we don't want to draw a crowd on the inside when we're trying
Right.
to keep it spaced out. So we haven't had any live music as of yet. We're still trying to get everything situated to where we can have it outside.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, because I know you've had a lot of singer-songwriters there, and
Tons.
yeah, like who have you? Can you think offhand of anybody?
I
Just
think right off head we have I think we've had 2 for dinner. I knew we had what's her name?
Didn't you have Amanda McCarthy?
I believe so. I think we had at one point.
yeah,
I seem to recall. I was pretty sure because I know I'm familiar with your place. 'Cause I've been there actually a number of
nice.
times. Yeah. And there's a lot of groups that go there. Like my Temple Israel goes there.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Bookery. Yeah.
Yes, and then we have,
Rabbi Jeremy. yes. Shout out to Rabbi
Yes.
Jeremy. Woo woo.
And then right around Christmas time we get the ukuleles, and that's always amazing.
oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've never seen them.
See, I still
No?
want to play
No,
with
but
one
I've
of
heard of
those.
them.
They're
I just
dope.
want to play with one.
Girl, I'll bring. Let me. I have one. I'll bring it.
I have,
to
a,
you.
wanna-
I have a ukulele.
I want to try and see if I can make it make music.
Yeah,
Or if
all
it'll
you got to
just
do is
sound
pull the
awful.
string and you make a music. That's it.
Well, yeah,
Essentially.
but
it
Jesse
might,
wouldn't say that.
it might
Jesse
not
would
sound
say I
that good,
can't
but
do.
like you know what? It's music. Clap your hands. That's music. That's a beat.
Yeah.
Oh.
The acapella.
Give me a cowbell. There we go. I'll be the cowbell.
I think you had Jasmine Mann there. It's cool though that we always need places that can have live music because there's not as many. I've been around here a long time, and there's not as many places as there used to be for live music. But it's great that if you can, if you have a business that isn't necessarily known for being a live venue, but you can bring that into the equation. I mean, that's awesome.
It's never a bad thing.
Right. Exactly. So we should, this kind of what we've been trying to do on Mondays. This started with, it was really Jenny's idea because, she had seen the YouTube series with Emmanuel Acho. I'm never sure if I'm saying his name correctly, but Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. And then we started this, so we started doing kind of our own variation of this a couple of weeks ago with you, Kenny, and Trudy. Trudy's not here, so I can't say tell us more, Trudy, from the ad. But
You can play the ad again.
That never gets
halfway
old.
through.
well,
never gets old.
Well, we always do.
I'm
Actually,
so
yes.
bad. I'm so bad when we have like silly little jokes like that. I just run them into the ground, and I'm disappointed that last time we were here that I didn't say it more than I did. Next time.
So have you gotten to see any of the conversation stuff?
No,
that we were
man.
It is it's really neat. He's got a lot of different ones and he addresses a lot of different issues. But the one that happened to get my attention was he was on with he had Matthew McConaughey on.
Okay.
And they just literally had a really open and honest discussion about, like don't touch a black woman's hair, and
yeah, you definitely do that.
talking about the difference between somebody who wants to be called black or wants to be called African American. It's just all the different topics, and it was interesting as we all came on and just kind of started asking each other some of the silly questions and some of the interesting ones. But I think this is important because one of the things I liked about the show is they encourage people to do this and to have more conversations like this where people are openly talking to one another. Because we're truly never going to get past racism in our nation if we don't have real conversations and be able to actually have to, recognize, I've seen that around. It's been around a long time, but it is kind of racist. Maybe we shouldn't be having things like that, to have those kind of conversations. Like, the last time I think everybody's on, we talked about the use of the term Indian summer.
Right.
From when I was a little kid, but it's not an appropriate term. But
never even heard that term before.
You know?
Yeah.
Same. I hadn't either.
Yeah.
Is it just me?
Well, no, it's not.
I was raised by a lot of my older relatives, so it is sometimes interesting to see what I pull out.
It's not just you, but I remember hearing it a lot when I was a kid. People would refer to Indian summer being in the fall.
It was the second summer. It was
right when you have
coming back.
When you have a fall where you have a lot of summer weather just happen, they would call that Indian summer. But at some point I stopped hearing that, so I guess that did kind of go away.
What was like the meaning behind it or the symbolism behind it to draw it back to India? Oh,
it's like when I was a little kid, kids would bully each other with what they called Indian
burns. I've
Indian
heard of
burns,
those.
where you rub the hands back and forth and you cause like
Yes,
an abrasion, a painful abrasion. Yeah, so that was I remember that when I was a little kid too. As a term, people would do that, and
or an Indian rug burn.
Yeah. And really, it's not. It's supposedly you're making a racist statement and saying, red skin. It's red skin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah, you're a Native American red skin. Like so, think about in sports, the Redskins.
Oh, of course, yes.
And the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And how
The Atlanta Braves.
Yeah,
they're being portrayed.
Indian summer and Indian burn is the same thing. Those are racist statements born out of racism. But we were taught. I mean, I personally was taught as a little kid these statements, and not in a racist fashion. That's what you called it. And there are some other terms I've talked to Matt a few times about different terms from traveling around the country that you hear and it kind of catches you off guard, and you don't realize how racist it is until you actually hear it or have somebody present it to you. Like Uncle Ben's rice or Aunt Jemima's syrup. How that plays in. I mean, for me growing up, Aunt Jemima was the awesome lady. She was like, when I saw it, that was like pancake syrup. Oh yeah, happy girl. I never saw it for a racist statement because I just saw happy pancakes. But I took it for granted.
The marketing worked.
Yeah.
The marketing worked. The marketing
worked.
It did its job.
Yep.
Big time.
Yep. Just when we were kids, you could take little record player things out of the back of your cereal box. You could take off the back of the cereal box and trim it away, and you could put it on the radio and play it on the record player.
What?
Yep. When I was a little kid. Huh. Oh yeah, we lived with our cereal boxes.
That's
we
crazy.
had everything in a cereal box.
What?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They didn't play no games when I was a kid. You got real toys. You got real toys. You could literally take the cardboard off the back of the box, trim it out, put it on the record player, put the needle on, and it would play. I had Captain Crunch on I remember the Captain Crunch one specifically on this record player, and it was like the little ditty. Yeah. Oh yeah. We got to have fun when we were kids.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I was for my generation too. For males, it was big. The Dukes of Hazzard. I used to watch the Dukes of Hazzard when I was a kid, and and I didn't know the problem with they've got a car called the General Lee, and it's got the Confederate flag on the roof, and but as a kid I had no idea. And I had toys. I had Dukes of Hazzard toys. A lot of my friends did too, with the little toy General Lee with the Confederate flag on it. And then by the time I got to be an adult, I became repulsed by the Confederate flag. And but it wasn't until years later that I realized, when I was a kid, I was watching this show, and I was raised by my dad used to be a liberal. He's shifted way right, and my mother still is. Very liberal, but I was raised by these liberal parents, but I guess they weren't really thinking about it either. Like it hadn't occurred to them either. It was like, it hadn't really occurred to anybody yet that you know, that stuff was problematic. And I look back now and I go, wow.
Have you found that with other shows too that you grew up watching?
Oh gosh, yeah. Well,
I'm sure there are.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Just to interject real quick about what you were saying, when you're saying
Yeah.
something about it being problematic, I think you're seeing it from a different lens, because I think other people who viewed that saw it already as problematic.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
'Cause I remember
Yeah.
watching it and I already knew that. I didn't know what the history behind the flag meant at that time, but I knew it meant you didn't like people that looked like me.
You know what's really interesting about that is how we each pick a different thing. For me, it was her. She looked like I didn't look like her.
Oh, Daisy Duke.
So I wasn't a good enough girl. I wasn't a pretty girl. I wasn't anything like her. Nobody looked at me that way. My hair didn't look that way. So for me, that show was literally just cementing my personal sorrow of having little to no self. So like I saw her and went, see, that's what a girl's supposed to be like. I was born wrong.
Wow.
I literally would say I was born wrong.
Yeah.
Because I didn't look like her. So for me, I centered on that I didn't even pick up much on the flag until much later in life, when it was literally in my face, like, oh yeah, that's not a good thing, is it? Because I didn't stop to think about it. I literally just did not stop to think about it. And my brain was focused on a different issue. But you know, when you think back, we as a society are like crawling out of a hole, in a sense, in that we were, when we say Black Lives Matter and people don't understand, we said all men are created equal, but that wasn't all men. That was only white men.
That was men that were.
That was specifically
men under the law.
White men.
Right.
The only
No
men
black
that were
people
considered
involved in that
people under the
one.
law.
No Asian people involved, and certainly no women. Women absolutely were male property. You know, so I don't know I don't even know how that works out. You know, but this is what we're coming out of. We're coming out of a time when women were seen as hysterical, not sick. Women were for home care and childbirth, not CEOs, not engineers. So, you know, from my perspective as a girl, and for you know, a society that painted people of color in horrible lights. They were in our TV shows as the maid, as the butler, but not the owner. I mean, Fresh Prince was one of the first ones to show a male, a strong black male figure who's educated, who has something to say and who has something to teach that you didn't see very often in television. We're just now, 21st century, just had our first black Marvel winning character. And within the last 2 years, we've seen our first Jewish princess out of Disney.
What? Who?
One of the characters. Yeah, they did a show with a Jewish princess.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like they've actually started to be more open to, you know, like they have
Who gets to turn
Mulan.
princess?
Mulan brings out an Asian woman
Moana.
who is the winning, the warrior in a warrior pose to show a young lady, a strong woman. But we're coming out of that now, and I think that these discussions and where we openly talk about things that we've taken for granted in our society and just said, well, that's just how it's always been. Now we're going, no, wait a minute, come back here. That may have been how it's been, but we don't want that for our future. And we're going to change that. And we're going to call you out, call each other out, even raise each other up by saying, you know, that was kind of not so great. How about if we use this term instead? So that's what I think about. Sorry, I kind of went on a tangent.
It's all good. It was needed.
You said it before the show. Let's go off. You were saying it. Let's run amok. Isn't that what you were saying?
Yes, I did.
Let's run amok.
I firmly
true.
We're
believe
the
in
only
running
ones in the
amok.
building. Let's run amok.
I firmly believe in running amok.
Yeah. And,
For
you
those
know,
who get the reference.
and for me too, I mean, I'm always anxious to learn because, you know, I grew up in Concord, New Hampshire. You know, it's a pretty white place. So, yeah, of course I grew up not knowing that there was a problem with, or more than one problem with the Dukes of Hazzard. Who was going to tell me different? Even my own liberal parents never, you know, like I said, it never occurred to them to.
But what was that fostering for a man? You know, you're supposed to be attracted to that kind of woman.
Right.
You know, that's hanging out of everything. That's what you should be attracted to.
Daisy Duke.
You should want to slide across the car and be all
in her Daisy Dukes.
big and buxom and go chop wood, hoo-wah. You know what I mean? Like, that's how you're supposed to carry yourself.
Right.
You know, not an intelligent guy who's running the town. You know?
Right.
I wore my Daisy Dukes because I knew we'd be talking so much about the Dukes of Hazzard.
I'm so happy that we have made you comfortable in this moment.
Can you tell I'm sitting up higher in this chair now
You
talking about that?
You do look rather comfy.
I am. I love
love
last time Trudy was on this side and I was on this side and I was trying to keep to my side.
You know, that's kind of an interesting thing. I want to ask you because as a young, you're a parent.
Yes.
You're
Proud parent.
A proud parent. Yes, proud parent. These are really hard conversations that I am assuming. What is it like when you're looking at toys? Mm-hmm. What are you seeing today? Because I know what I'm seeing, and my son's much older, so the toys would go way back, and everything was boy and girl. When my kid was growing up, everything was toys for boys, toys for girls. There was nothing else. Our society has changed in that respect, but what kind of things do you still see in our society that take you aback? You know what? I don't want my son to see that as okay. I wouldn't want to buy that toy.
Well, I don't see it as much in toys because we let him play whatever we want him to play with. We don't want him to have that stigma on him that he can't choose to play with the toy he wants to play with just because it's designated for a boy. So
good.
That's
what I'm saying here, though. But that's so huge because that's one generation. In one generation, we've changed from parents who taught their children, you got to be a boy, you go this way. You're going to be a girl, you're going to be this way. Boys can't play with dolls. Girls can't play with Tonka trucks. We went in one generation from that to a parent sitting here saying, I'm not going to do that to my son. I'm not going to tell him you can't play with that or you can't play with this just because you're a boy.
Well, I can attribute that to two things. One is because how I was raised, I wouldn't want to have it done to me. So the way I was raised, my dad passed away when I was a lot younger, so I didn't really have a father figure in my life. But the people who were around me and like what I guess the people I looked up to, it was definitely, you don't play with girls' toys, you don't wear no girls' clothes, you can't be, I guess, sweet in a way, if you will. And it was hard pressed every single time you turned. Even the rappers we listen to or rappers I listen to talk about it on a daily basis. So it's constantly drilled into your head. To be a man is to be hyper masculine. Okay. At least in my personal opinion.
Do you find that stronger among the color community versus where you see? I mean,
in my personal opinion,
is that like
Yes, ma'am.
You know what kind of got me thinking about that is when, after our last conversation, I realized we're still segregated in our religions.
Oh yeah, big time.
And that's really where that was kind of coming from in my brain. I was like, we still have this whole thing that in religions that we shove kids into. You must fit into this box.
Mm-hmm. You mean like only like people try to keep you within that certain box? Like a Jewish family wants you to marry another Jewish
person. It's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Or like my grandma. Remember when I told you the story about my grandma and she said it's okay to be friends with them, but not to date them.
Yeah. I get that. That's like, I don't even know if that's just a religious thing too, because it's a big cultural thing too.
Exactly.
Like a lot of my friends that come from other countries, their parents push them to marry somebody that's also from the same country or the same region of the world.
Sure.
I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
We don't have that. I knew this was gonna have my phone's ringing.
Oh, is that you?
You want? I'm sorry. Sorry.
That's okay.
And then like the quickly
Put him
running
on the
back
F list.
To the second point I was trying to make that attributed to it is I think if you have at least what helped me was my wife. I had a strong woman in my corner telling me that this is not how you're supposed to do things. I understand you probably didn't have a dad growing up or you didn't have that, but we need to work together to create the best child we can, not the best version of ourselves. So the best him he can be. And she kind of helped coach me through a lot of my hard times of raising our son because I only saw it one way. So I had to open my mind and listen to her, and it's been amazing ever since.
That's such a huge thing. That's what I just want to bring that out so much because you talk about wanting a change. Well, when you say that, it's not just cliche. You can be the change. You can make a conscious effort to go, I might have been raised this way, or I might have seen this as okay, but I'm going to take a left turn over here, and I'm going to change that, not only for myself and the people around me, but for my own children.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest thing in everyone. We all have changed. Just that, are you willing to do it? Are you willing to go through that scary place that you're not comfortable with and actually grow and let that change become you? Or are you going to be afraid of every time you approach it? And I think that's why we have a lot of problems we have now. People are seeing a lot of change and they don't like it because that requires them to be something different or to think a different way, get out of their comfort zone. So
totally. I mean, that's what this whole I heard someone refer to it as white backlash. That's what I think a lot of this, I mean, you've got people like Jenny and myself and a lot of people who want to, like I said, we want to learn. You know, like I had to learn about the Dukes of Hazzard just as an example. But there's a lot of people who don't want to learn. They want everything to be exactly the way it's always been. And some people, you know, I mean, there's different levels to this, I think. And I mean, you know, you've got people who are just genuinely hateful and bigoted. But I think you've also got a lot of people who maybe aren't necessarily hateful or even prejudiced necessarily, but they're just so, you know, and I think probably a lot of this is generational, but they're just so locked into they don't want anything to change. It's like I was a huge fan of the sitcom All in the Family growing up. And the best description I ever heard of the Archie Bunker character was, it wasn't that he had hate in him. He just couldn't deal with change. The world was changing in front of him. And it was right in his face because he was living, you know, I don't know if you guys have ever watched All in the Family, but
No.
But he had, you know, he had family in his life who were at the forefront of that, his daughter and his son-in-law. And you know, they were
They were the peaceniks.
Yeah.
They were the ones going to Woodstock.
Yeah. And they weren't bigots. And so they were kind of putting it in front of him every day, and Archie Bunker, the character, couldn't deal with it. And I see
even in the song, the opening song, it says everybody pulled their weight, so there was no welfare state.
Right.
That a man was a man and a girl was a girl.
Those
you know?
those were the days.
Those were the days.
That's the theme
Yeah,
song
old
to
little
the show.
Sal ran great.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's just it's the whole set in your way thing.
Yeah.
And that really is that's that whole conversation to say, you know what, I'm totally willing to change and learn something new. I don't have to be set in it. But that's a big part of what we're facing now. I mean, look at what's going on in our country. I mean, like, I just want to die every time I turn it on and look at it. My heart breaks so badly. Every single night, we're over 100 nights of protests and just the horrible things that are going on in our nation. What seems to be no end in sight, because there's certainly no leadership looking to change it. Is what we have for leadership is I'm sorry, exactly what we're talking about. The good old boys club. You know, oh, sure, everybody's equal, but a woman should really want to get married, have children, and stay in the kitchen. You should never want your daughter to want to be a scientist or an engineer. You know what I mean? Like, those are the people that, I'm sorry, the Trumpkins and alike that are out there right now. I'm going to say it, and I mean it, that are literally pushing this. They don't want nothing to change. They don't want you taking Aunt Jemima's picture off the box because it's been good enough for our family for all these years. By golly, it'll be good enough for the rest of us, too. You know, I mean, seriously, go to the New Hampshire State House. Look at the walls. Bunch of old, crotchety white men been running the country all these years. And then slowly you get into maybe the 1960s or so. You start to see a speckle of a woman here and there. And then, oh boy, we got some color coming in now, but it's late. It's really not that long ago. We're not that far removed from racism.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
My granddad experienced racism.
Is what?
My granddad experienced racism to a heavy degree. I will never forget the stories he would tell me at a young age. I still when he would tell me the conversations, I didn't really know what was going on, but I could feel his pain through his stories, and that's what resonated with me. And I knew I shouldn't. So it has to do with the N-word, and in my culture, I would say I think we're the heaviest users of the N-word, and I think he caught me slipping one day, and I said it by accident, and then he definitely told me the meaning of that word and the weight and brevity and just the emotion that word, the real word, and where it stemmed from carried. I couldn't say it again. And I was only I don't even know how young, maybe 10, 12.
Wow.
Maybe?
What is the understanding that you have about that word and why you say, okay, it's not for me, it's not for my kid, where other people say, oh no, it's camaraderie. It's the GA and not the ER.
Well, there's also another meaning to that word as well too. It's I don't want to misspeak, so I think it's called negus. It originated from Africa and it was used as royalty. That's how we called each other kings and queens.
Somebody else just told me that same thing.
And that's where the word originated from.
I didn't realize
it's because
that.
it originated from Africa. And if I called you, I can say okay. So I'm not saying a word, but if I called you my negus, I'm saying you to my royalty, my queen, my king, and it stemmed off as that.
I had no idea.
After I was on the show last time, my best friend, he's black, he's Sudanese, and he was telling me the same thing about it because we got to talking about it because I was just talking about what we had talked about on the show, and he told me the exact same thing because I said I don't know the history of the word, and then he told me that, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it's Neegus.
Okay.
Because I believe is the spelling of it. And then, of course, you have the term that we all know here, Nigger, and I wouldn't say demonic, but it feels like it to me. It's such a powerful word to me. At least how my granddad explained it to me. It's like that whole word is just hatred, because the way they would call you that, and in the South it was also boy. I'm not sure if you guys know about that, but if someone called you boy, it wasn't like saying the N word, but it was almost just as bad.
Yeah,
because it like stripped you away of the way they would say it, the enunciation of the way they would say it would strip you of whoever you were as a person. Like they were like, "Get over here, boy," like that, or it was just like, because you're a grown man, and somebody's calling you a boy in a derogatory term. Right. So they're kind of trying to break you down by calling you that. So it was that. And then you have the one that the rappers use, and that's the one where you're talking about camaraderie, where it's Niggas. And I think that is us taking back the word, using it for our own purposes as it was used previously as Neegus. And I think that's where you have all of those.
I totally get that because of the word Jew.
Why is that?
Because I'm a Jew. I'm Jewish. Taking back the word Jew and not having it said derogatory is something that I've actually talked about with family members. That's actually a conversation I've had, because it was like, oh, that's the Jew story. It was a negative thing. And it's also used in slang terminology to say you Jewed somebody down.
Yeah.
So it's used in that derogatory way.
Yeah.
But it's actually a pride to take back control over that. I am a Jew.
Well, it's also like the word queer, right? Gay people have taken that word back,
and the F word associated.
Yeah, I could never say that. I'm sorry.
No.
That's just as strong as the N word. And I was like, a real quick story. My wife can attest to this. And from learning and not knowing, I came from a background of gaming culture where that word was used heavily all the time. Like, and it was like second nature for me to say it. And my wife would hear me say it in the other room while I'm playing video games, and she was like, "You know what, babe? Like, I don't know if you want to be saying." I was like, "I'm not hurting anybody." I'm so ignorant and oblivious to it. And then I don't know who explained it to me, or I just got older and I got more conscious. But they explained it to me the right way, and like they said, that word is just like when people use the N word for you. And I like shattered. I was like, "Are you serious?" And they're like, "Yeah, like that hurts us just as much as if I called you the N word right now."
Yep.
I never got called the N word. I got called the F word a lot, though.
And that
a lot.
Actually, that word hurts me more than if somebody called me the N word. If somebody called me the N word, I'm like, okay, cool. But if you call one of my friends or somebody that I knew that, we got to fight.
I don't think any of my friends say it around me anymore. And if someone slips, or like if somebody that's not usually with us says it, it like gets really quiet and everybody starts looking at me.
Really? Yeah.
As I think it should be, because it's a bad word. It's a defaming word. I don't like it.
There's a song that has a lyric in it where it says people throwing around "that's so gay" as a term.
Yeah.
Whenever something doesn't work or whatever, oh, that's so gay. Yeah. And there's a song that actually says that in lyric, bringing it out of what's in our society that we say that we really shouldn't be saying. That, somebody can get upset about that, and they do have a right to be able to not be upset just walking around.
They used to have commercials about saying "that's so gay," and it was Hillary Duff. Throwback.
Really?
Hillary Duff.
Really?
Oh, you never saw this commercial?
No.
It was dope. So it was these two girls.
Oh, I remember this.
It was these two girls, and they're in like a shop. They're in a store, and they're trying on a shirt. And one of the girls goes, "How does the shirt look?" And the other girl goes, "It's so gay." And then Hillary Duff walks up out of the back, and she's like, "You really shouldn't say that, because saying that is like," the girl's wearing like a strapless shirt, and she's like, Hillary Duff says, "When you say that, it can be hurtful. Like if somebody said, 'That's so girl wearing a skirt as a shirt.'" And then she walks away. And she's like,
wait,
"Those
I
are
did
cute
see
jeans,
that
though."
one.
And then she walks away, and I was like, "Oh, I love you, Hillary Duff."
Oh my God, that's awesome.
They used to play that
crazy.
like all the time. Like, they played that when I was a kid, and that was like, oh my God, thank God that like there's commercials out there that are like saying this about people. Because when I was in school,
Matt and I
everybody
grew up where every commercial was frying an egg in a pan. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs.
Oh, yeah, this is brain on drugs.
Don't do drugs. That was like everything.
I love fried
for
eggs.
us was that. And would you eat an ashtray?
Oh, yeah.
When they tried to start that one. But
remember that.
when I was a kid though, they sold cigarettes in little vending machines and like the Chinese food restaurants. You would just put quarters in and pull the thing out, and a pack of cigarettes came out.
I see those things nowadays, like in antique stores, and they're so cool.
Antique stuff.
There was one. They have one. At
I've
the,
actually used one.
They have one
oh
at the
wow,
MFA,
I'm saying how old
at
I
the
am.
Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, but they've changed it, and it's a vending machine, and you put the money in and you pull it, and it gives you like a little piece of art from an artist. I have one. It's so cool. I like went up to it. I was like,
cool.
they have a cigarette machine in here. I want to buy a cigarette just cause.
Wow.
And then
No.
I did it, and then it was like a little cool little piece of art.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I want to see that.
That's very
Let's
cool.
go to the MFA.
Hey, here. Check this out. I'm going to play this really quick.
Do you like this
Oh, we
top?
found it.
Oh yeah.
It's so gay. Really? Yeah, it's totally gay.
You know, you really shouldn't say that.
Say what?
Well, say that something's gay when you mean it's bad. It's insulting. What if every time something was bad, everybody said, oh, that's so girl wearing a skirt as a top?
Oh, you are.
Those are cute jeans, though. When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off.
There you go.
Such an
You have a
important
great memory,
It was so I know I got that like word for word almost.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It was like I was so happy when I saw those commercials coming on though, because like in school all the time everybody would say that's so gay.
Yep.
And like I remember it, like I very distinctly remember one of my English classes in high school. There's a bunch of bros in it. And like they're all still friends of mine now, and like I just attribute it to ignorance. Like I don't like hold it against people.
Yeah.
But like they would always say like that's so gay. And then like when we were reading a book and like something that was like a gay scenario in a book happened,
Yeah.
then they would all like crack up and be this and that, and like the teachers would just let it go, and I was like, I'm just sitting there in the corner like this is so offensive, and like
Wow,
like literally
yeah.
it's everybody in the class and the teacher ain't telling them not to say that stuff. Like it's just annoying. It's so annoying.
Yeah, it's surprising that the teacher wouldn't address it.
I don't know if like I just don't know
Might
back
have
in
been
the
old
day when
school.
I was in school. I don't know that like I don't think that teachers were necessarily as well equipped as maybe they are now. Like I'm starting
Yeah.
to see now that people
Yeah.
are being trained more on how to be sensitive to certain topics. And I don't know that when I was in school that teachers had that kind of training. And like I don't. No, that's a lie. I don't hold it against the teachers so much.
Yeah.
Either because now I have friends that are educators and I can see how it's kind of like an uncomfortable situation to be
It's
dealing
so
with this.
different,
But
though.
like I'm, like maybe teachers like y'all could just shut that down if you see it happening now. I'm gonna just ask you right now if you hear a student say that, you should probably pull
I
them
went to
aside
school
tell
and
them.
they encouraged us to throw balls at each other. You know, and they forced us. I've never forgotten gym class. We were forced to do this like crazy barnyard dance with somebody of the opposite sex. You had to dance. As a girl, I had to dance with a little boy. That was so horrible. I remember that and how horrible that experience was, and how we each
actually.
for what we got forced into it. My generation was be seen, not heard. You know, talk when spoken to.
So I guess I was raised by your generation then.
Because
Because a lot of things you talk about speak directly to me. Did you have to do? Was it like foxtrot and the waltz and all that kind of
Oh
weird
yes,
stuff? Yeah,
yes.
I had to learn that too in my
I
school.
went to
ballroom
Monty Young
dancing?
Elementary
Oh,
School.
yeah,
in
we
Ra-
were-
see, I
We
went
did
to
the
Randolph.
Macarena.
It was that would have been more fun.
Yeah, that's
No.
what we did. We did line dancing.
No, we had
and
formal dance thrusted upon us.
Every
Yeah.
stereotype that you can think of that applies to boys and girls was applied in gym class. That was my gym class.
I never
You know,
thought
we literally had all of that stuff. It was awful.
So
It
I
was
went,
really awful.
I went to a Catholic school and they made a square dance. That was a big thing.
I just remember being horrified that this boy was going to have to like touch me, and I was horrified, and they were horrified because I was not one of the popular kids. So I
crazy,
wasn't
though.
like the one getting picked out. Oh, well, they'll dance
Oh
with
yeah, I
Susie
want to
over
dance
there,
with
you know?
her. Hey.
Yeah, no, it was like you got stuck with the run of the litter. Oh.
Well, listen, I want to take a moment and say hello to everybody in the Facebook live chat and some poignant conversations germane to the discussion. Brian Mackey, all the way from Idaho, first one in today. Hello, Brian. Texas Mike is in there.
Hi, Mike.
Bobby Champagne.
Bobby Champagne.
Bobby champagne, pop a bottle of champagne.
I like that one.
Miriam Banish. Miriam says, I sometimes catch myself using terms like Indian style sitting instead of crisscross. That one wouldn't have occurred to me. That's interesting. And she says, my parents were liberal, but used a huge amount of racist words. Really awful, but I knew it was bad. Interesting.
Isn't the word Indian technically like just not proper? If you're,
It's not.
because
Because the
like
morons
anything-
thought they
yeah.
landed in India, and they called them the wrong. The Native Americans weren't
yeah,
Indians,
anytime
but they.
you use Indian in that context, like you're not. It's
Right.
not proper. It's not right.
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Let's talk about Christopher Columbus. Cuba didn't know where he landed, named the wrong things.
Indigenous Peoples Day is coming up
And
next
gets
month.
highly celebrated for it, too.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Miriam says, my parents grew up in North Carolina, and the words they used were what they grew up with, but they moved north, and words had started to change.
Yeah.
Alex Whiteley, who is from the UK, says, I hate the fact that when I was a kid in school, everything was, quote, gay. It tripped me up when I was in my teens, and I was like, oh, that's so gay. And the guy I was talking to looked me plain in the face and responded with, that's because I am gay. Cringe, lesson learned.
Oh, wow.
I love doing that to people.
Yeah, really.
That's my favorite.
Put them on the spot.
Oh yeah. People say things to me all the time that are like homophobic, and I'm like, you know who you're talking to right now, right?
So that happens consistently?
It happens. Like, it definitely happens.
Yeah.
Because like, I think with anything, there's stereotypes, and people assume that you have to fit into the stereotype in order to be it. So like, it's really bad. But like, since I don't talk like this and I don't have my hands like this all the time, nobody thinks that
Since you're
I'm
not
gay.
extra flamboyant.
Like, but
Right.
like, and like, there's gay people that are like that. There's gay people that aren't like that. But hey,
Right.
guess what? Like, we're all still gay people.
Right. You're not a monolith. You're all different.
I don't know. I don't
You're,
even know what I am, man.
You're all individuals.
You're
Yeah.
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Okay, I didn't know what that word meant. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
People are not defined by how they look. Oh, God.
Bobby Champagne says, we were taught as kids that sticks and stones, quote unquote, but words can never hurt me. Not so much nowadays. Times change, and so do people.
It's a good turn. It's a good little moniker, but
Yeah.
more difficult in practice.
Exactly. Alex Whiteley says, and by the way, I'm British. The F word is part of my daily vocabulary. So if you hear me saying it, no offense is ever met. Yeah, because they use that as a term for cigarette. Speaking of cigarettes.
Wait, what?
Yeah, no, that's true. In Europe,
Yeah.
a cigarette was called the F word, F-A-G.
Is that like
How?
That's what they called them. That's literally what they called them. Like if you watch really old British shows, they'll ask, do you have a F? And he's asking for a cigarette. It's not the same thing that we in America
That's
call
weird.
it.
Yeah.
It's not our world is not theirs.
Because that word originally, in its full, with both syllables, meant a thing of sticks, like tied together.
Yeah.
Oh,
A
so that's
bundle of
the
sticks,
Okay,
yeah.
so I did hear that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's
lots
probably
of
where it
words
stemmed
like
from.
that.
Okay.
There's so many words like that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
like a dike is part of it's like a thing in a stream. I think it's like a narrowing in
Yes.
a river before it goes out.
Yeah.
Well, it's another the Oosterdijk in the Netherlands, and I know I probably butchered saying that, but that's how they actually shut off the ocean over there.
Yeah.
It's,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's true. There are
But
quite
yeah,
a
that
few,
word is used to mean other things.
There's quite a few words like that. Whitney Maka Barney. Maka Barney. That's a new name in the Facebook live chat. Hello.
That's my wife.
Welcome. Oh, no kidding. Oh,
hi.
very nice. Very nice. It's nice that she supports you.
Oh, definitely. She's
Good.
my number one.
Good. Rhonda Favero is in the Facebook live chat. She says we were forced to square dance in elementary school.
Oh my god! All y'all had
It's
to
a
do all
thing,
these
bro.
these
Yeah.
dances. No, I loved when we did line dancing in school. It was
When
so much
I was
fun.
in elementary school, we still dressed up as pilgrims and Indians for half.
Yeah, I didn't do any of that.
No,
Yeah, I went to Randolph, Massachusetts. Marnie Young Elementary School.
we didn't had any of that.
That's where the dancing took place too.
No lord.
And I was the only left-handed kid to top it all off. That was really weird. I got ostracized at I seriously did. It was weird. The gym teacher, I never forgot her. She was like, I can't teach you how to play tennis. This is impossible.
Oh, wow.
And that was it. It was like, okay.
Oh, you have another fan. Well,
Those weird
I
ones.
lost it. I got to scroll
Not
up.
that I'm comparing.
Oh.
What in the world you got going on over there?
Having some problems here today.
You're having technical difficulties.
Well, my browser's acting a little funny. Natalie Barney with
That's
with a heart says Ben.
That's my mother-in-law.
Oh,
That's
very
my
nice.
wife's mom.
Oh, very good. Very good. All right.
She's number 3. So it goes my wife, Milo, her.
Oh, okay. Is Milo your son?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Very good. Well, why isn't Milo in the Facebook Live? Oh, never mind. Probably,
Yeah.
probably.
He's probably
Don't rush
watching.
him.
He's probably watching.
So your wife says in Utah we had to do the same. See, I didn't know this was so wide. See, I thought it in my school.
It was a nightmare.
I thought it was weird that we had to dance. Apparently, everyone had to do it. So while we're talking about all these different words and whatnot, are there words that we use, people like Jenny and I that maybe we shouldn't be using, or phrases that we haven't talked about that we might not even realize, because like I said, we're people who want to learn and be better at all of this.
There's one I got when I was younger. I started noticing that my speech plays a big weight in how I am perceived by other people. So I stopped slurring my words. I started speaking more eloquently and trying to build a bigger vocabulary. And immediately I got called, "Oh, why are you talking white?
Wow.
Why do you sound so white?" I'm like, "What do you mean? I sound educated?" And that's the term that people are assimilating to black people who sound intelligent. Like, so I have to be white to be intelligent. Is that what you're saying? Mm-hmm. So that's a big one. And then
who can I just ask you though? Who would say that to you?
People who look like me.
Okay, so white people wouldn't say that to you.
No, it's the other way around on that side. They would be like, "Oh, you speak so well for a black person."
Which is also that's the whole thing too.
So it's on the other side. So you get it from both sides.
Wow.
You speak so well
Exactly.
for a black man.
Exactly. Like, "Oh, where'd you hear that word from? Oh, wow, your vocabulary is so big." Like, thank you.
It's almost like they're trying to compliment you, but that's about as backhanded as a compliment can get.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's just a lot of backhanded compliments that are stemmed from racism to begin with, because there's a preconceived notion that you know who I am without knowing who I am.
Well, you must be great at basketball. Of course.
Actually, well, yeah. Actually.
Well, okay. Well, sorry, that was a bad one. Well, that didn't work out the way I was meaning it. And it's like, wise guy.
Actually, so don't use the basketball one, track,
no. I
baseball,
heard
soccer.
I was watching a conversation with that. It was like, it was one of the. It was that TV show, What Would You Do? And the scenario is this white woman says to the other person, "Well, you'd be really great at that. All black people are great at sports. You people are really good. You people are really good at sports." And would anybody else in the area speak up and go, you really shouldn't say something like that. It's not okay. And it's interesting. I love that show. It's like a little hidden camera, and they set up these different things. And will anybody jump in? Will anybody say anything?
Oh, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And they did one like that where there's this uncomfortable conversation. Oh, it was like a blind date. Mm-hmm. And the person shows up and goes, "Well, you must be," it starts going off on the whole, because you're black, you must be great at sports. And the guy's like, "Well, actually, no, I'm really not. I'm really kind of stink at it."
I was picked last all the time.
Yeah, I can't hit nothing like that. I'm really good at mathematics and engineering, And like, "Oh, no, you people are good at this, And it keeps going like that. And they see if people will step in and go, "Hey, don't talk to him like that. It's not okay." Mm. But that's people have a great way of pigeonholing their own people. Mm-hmm. If you're not acting the way I act, then you don't fit in with us.
It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
You're trying to act differently.
Exactly. And it's also when people think that just because you're acting a certain way that everybody else must act like you as well too. Similar, like if you see, which goes back to how we were talking about earlier, if you see people who are looting and rioting, oh, all of you must be that way because they do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So you guys must all be that savage, that destructive, that upset, and you're painting a picture that's a very broad stroke, you know what I mean? And then you don't even dive into why are they angry?
But isn't that what's happening right now anyway?
Oh,
people aren't talking about the Black Lives Matter movement and what people are trying to succeed in doing with that. They're associating looting that's all the BLM people. Mm-hmm. All them people are looting. Yeah,
that's what they want to see.
That's and that's the narrative they want to sell to everybody else.
I'm finding that especially now that I've come on the show a few times and had these conversations, I'm really starting to have these conversations with people that I don't normally have them with. And the one thing that I'm finding is that with the whole Black Lives Matter movement is that it's a totally different world when it's people of color looking at it, and then when white people are looking at it, there's somewhere in the middle somewhere, we're being lost in translation with
Black
it,
part.
and I think it's just I think it's just life experience kind of thing where white people don't experience these things on a day-to-day basis, and I don't know what I try to I don't know how to convey that I don't know how to put it in a way that they can understand.
Nobody had to have a conversation with me before I went out dress shopping to talk to me about not using a big bag because because if I had been a person of color, they would think I was going to be a shoplifter.
Yeah.
To take a smaller bag. I had girlfriends that had that conversation with their moms, but that conversation didn't happen with me. With me, it was other things. It was, because I was Jewish, it was different things or what have you.
Yeah.
But this is totally different. You can't change somebody's skin color. It's not the same thing as religion. It's not the same thing of anything like that. People have these stupid preconceived ideas that they've been holding on to. So yeah, my girlfriend her mom had that conversation. Don't bring big bags in with you. They're going to see you. You're a young black girl. They'll think you're going to try and steal. They'll think you're going to try and shoplift. Leave your bag at the front door instead of carrying it into the store or something to that nature. She was worried that something would happen and her daughter would get hurt. And that was like shocking to me to have that kind of conversation. I know we had asked you, but did your mom have that kind of a conversation with you before you started going out as a young man, like in your new teenage years, you start kind of venturing out by yourself? Did your parents have to have that kind of conversation with you about going into a store or running into cops?
That's a little hard question to ask because she never made it to be able to do that.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I'm sorry.
I lost my mom, dad, grandma, and granddad all before I turned 20.
oh my
Oh
God.
my goodness, I'm so sorry.
So yeah, I had to learn on my own.
Wow.
I'm my dad's girl. I was raised with my dad.
So everything you see in front of you today is all by myself. Well, no, I won't say that. My grandma helped out a lot before she passed away, and then my brother took us in, and he helped us
Had a
little bit.
Did you
You
have
had a lot
anybody
of
that
hard-
like had those conversations with you though?
Nope.
Yeah.
Did
I
you
learned
have
on my
any?
own.
Did you learn the hard way, so to speak? Like,
Yeah.
did you have a negative interaction and that
I've
wouldn't
had-
have happened if you'd been a white kid?
I've had a few that definitely stuck with me. Some of them were me being a kid and just being mischievous, but I saw how it affected me as opposed to my friends. But mostly it was just seeing it happen to my friends because I was always in the sports. I always tried to. My brother kind of helped. He never had like the conversations with me, but he always made sure to kind of steer me clear of if he saw me going down a path I probably shouldn't be going down. But there was no substance behind it. It's like more dictatorship type style. You do what I say.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah.
No, listen behind
Yeah,
it.
no,
Like,
I
I'm
get
telling you
that.
not to do this, so don't do it. And if you
Yeah.
do it, you're in trouble type thing. So I never got the context. I just knew not to do it. So I always kind of made my choices to go right when everybody went left, and then I always watched, and it kind of correlated over time. Okay, I understand what he's saying now. I started looking for these things, and I was like, okay, so I understand now.
Gotcha. So Kenny, you have to go, correct?
I do.
Well, Kenny, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me
You
again.
should plug the Hop Knot before you go.
The Hop Knot is located at 1000 Elm Street in the Brady Sullivan Plaza. We are open Wednesday and Thursday, 12 to 9 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 12 to 10 p.m., and Sundays for brunch, 12 to 5. Come by for some gourmet pretzels and craft beer and great times.
Deliciousness.
Deliciousness.
And trivia night Wednesday night.
Maybe
Yes.
you'll run into Ben there.
Yes, I do frequent that a lot.
Excellent.
My favorite place. It's the only place I go out to eat, actually.
Is it? Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
It's the one place I go to.
Yeah, that's a good option.
Y'all.
It's my spot.
Y'all are going to find me at the Bookery now.
That outside
That
seating.
outside
Yeah,
seating
we
so
gotta-
cute. The AstroTurf and those cute
Yeah.
little tables.
Yeah. And those flowers are from Apotheca Flowers.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
It was great. The first time I went in there, I went in to get a coffee, and then I saw you guys had beer, and I was like, oh my God.
They do.
Oh, yeah. We have beer on top, and we have Prosecco on top, too.
Oh.
I don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
what that is. I'll have to
Prosecco
learn.
is just wine.
Oh, a wine I don't know.
Bubbly champagne.
The one I don't
Bubbly
know.
champagne, not Bobby Champagne. Bubbly champagne.
Please
Shout
don't
out
go
to
there.
Bobby Champagne.
Please.
Oh boy.
Oh God. Play a song, Matt. We'll lose it.
He does have a great name.
Please stop.
I wish my last name was Champagne.
Yes. I know, right? Bobby Champagne sounds like
I know, it's just got a nice ring to it.
sounds like a lounge singer.
I'm gonna leave.
Ooh,
Doesn't it?
Stop.
it does.
That's all said with affection, Bobby Champagne. Don't. Okay. Kenny has to go, and Jenny is here at the news desk,
Hello.
and our new friend Ben from the Bookery is here as well. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, we're glad you're able to stick around. This is great. Ben, where did you grow up? Did you grow up around here?
No, sir. I grew up in Alabama.
Alabama. Wow.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been here?
I've been here for quite some time. I'm, I believe, a resident at this point. I think I've been here 10 years.
Oh,
10, maybe 11.
Oh, okay.
Not quite sure. I graduated in 2019. No, 2009. Sorry, 2009.
Oh,
And I
okay.
moved up here the day after. So roughly 10 years, 11
Seems
years.
like massively two different worlds. New
It is.
England to Alabama. I lived in Kentucky for 3 years. I hated every moment of it. I really did,
Why is
honestly.
that?
Well, for me, I was definitely in with the rednecks for certain. I know that's a terrible thing to say, but I used to be related to them, so I get to say it. They were my ex-in-laws, and they had a lot of old value. Like, I got in trouble for not sitting in the kitchen with the women.
Yeah.
I got in trouble for clothing. It was just, they were everything backwards that you can think of that's on that like crazy movies. That's how this was. It really was.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
And some of the things that they, we talk about language. I can't say it on air and I wouldn't, but they introduced me to a candy down there and they used the N-word to describe this candy.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine.
With another derogatory comment. But I mean, I remember hearing that and just being horrified. But then I got accused of witchcraft for lighting Hanukkah candles.
Oh,
Yep.
I've never seen it.
My
Didn't know what it was.
father-in-law threatened to shoot me.
Oh,
I'm
wow,
not
that
kidding.
bad. That's crazy.
What kind of witchcraft she doing in this here house? You better get that out. I'll get you. And he was going to shoot. He thought I was for real doing witchcraft because I was lighting Hanukkah candles.
Yeah.
That's insane.
See, I've never been to Kentucky or Alabama.
I don't advise it really.
I mean, I think everybody should. Just so I think it'd be more in your face to see how it really is. Because at least down south, they're very blatant about it. It's not like secretive or
Oh, no.
I'm gonna hide it from you. I'll come right up to your face and tell it to you, and I'll tell you how I feel and everything like that. And to some degree, you can kind of respect that because that's who you are as a person. I respect it. Like, I know if you don't like me, I mean, I don't like that you don't like me, but I respect that you at least let me know, and I'll stay away from you, kind of thing.
You know where
what I mean?
you know where
'Cause
you stand.
You know,
Yeah.
you know exactly where they stand. They
Yeah.
told you what they would do if they
True.
saw you again, so you have kind of no choice but to, I guess, respect it in a way.
Yeah.
Because they're being who they are. At least
Right.
in my opinion, that's what I would do.
They're more upfront. They're upfront with their hate. They're not
Very
secretly.
upfront.
They're not secretly going, oh, we have to put up with that. They just, I don't like y'all. Y'all just stay on your side of the road. We'll all just get along fine.
Exactly.
That's
It's,
literally how they are.
Yeah.
They have that in their face with it. I mean,
Yeah.
he had no problems with say witchcraft, and he was going to shoot me. He was serious. That wasn't a joke.
Yeah.
They are like that, though. You're so right. I mean, they are really right in your face.
Do you feel like up here, I mean, I don't know how else to ask it. Are people less racist here, or are people more closeted with it, more subtle with it? Do you know what I mean? Like because you
No, I
talk
know
about
exactly what you mean.
you talk about how they're very upfront
Blatant.
with it, and
Yes, sir.
blatant.
I wouldn't say it. I don't know I wouldn't describe it as less racist, but I would say it is more covert, and I think it's just built in, and I think it just comes from knowledge. I think now a lot of people just don't know. At least the people I interact with,
Yeah.
they just don't know, and they genuinely want to learn.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lack of information, and they're just speaking from what they've always known.
Right.
And that's why I don't mind like coming onto your show, or if anyone asks me a question, is to educate somebody. At least in the first time, is like, do you know this? Well,
Yeah.
do you know that? Why are you saying it that way? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's actually part of the reason why we were hoping to have these conversations here is because let's face the truth here. We live in New England. We live in New Hampshire, and New Hampshire's a really white state. There's no polite way to say that. So, for you as a black man coming to this very white state, that had to be kind of jarring in a way from Alabama to New Hampshire.
Slightly. The second half of my family's white, so it wasn't like jarring at all. It was it was different because there was so much of it, but it wasn't like jarring. I actually loved it because up here the weather was just a lot better. Like a lot of people don't understand. Like in the South, when they say humidity, it's like you can bite it.
No, that's
it's bad.
true.
It's real bad. But when you
Wow.
come up here, the quality of air and especially fall time, amazing.
I
And
think that part of that is though we get the ocean, we get the benefit of that. Where in the interior they're either just flat, hot, like you can hear the crickets, you can feel the steam, and maybe there's a lake a couple of miles away, but it's not like having the ocean so close. I think we kind of benefit from that.
oh yeah, big time.
Yeah.
We are known for our air quality. That
All the
that
trees.
actually is
We
true.
are.
Yeah.
All
yeah.
the trees. Yeah, I just came back from Utah not too long ago, and drastic difference as well too.
Really? Yeah.
Oh yeah, big time.
Oh.
Big time.
Hello to Angela Philbrook in the Facebook live chat. Do you still have family in Alabama? Or?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
The other half of my family's in Alabama.
Okay.
Well, all of my side, basically. I think. No, I know. The only person I have up here is my sister and her nephews.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, my sister and her sons, which are my nephews.
Right. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Gotcha. Did you move up here together, or?
Yes, she took me in after everything happened down south. I no longer wanted to be down there.
Yeah.
I had to get away. So she was having her firstborn, Hayden, and it kind of was like a deal, sort of. She was like, if you graduate high school, you can come up here and live with me for the first year and help me take care of your nephew. And I was like, oh, say less. I'm up there. So soon, literally the day after I graduated, I was up here.
Oh,
And that was the
awesome.
best year of my life because I got to raise my nephew. And it gave me like extreme joy. And it was the coolest experience to be raising. Because I think that's the first nephew I ever had, right? Hayden? Yeah, he's my first nephew. So it was like cool to be that uncle that like, no, I took care of you. I changed your diaper. You know, all those conversations with uncle, like, I changed your diaper.
This
So it
is
was really
so cool because these are the kind of conversations that in the past you wouldn't hear a man saying that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my dad, when I was born, my dad was out in a hallway somewhere. He wasn't nowhere around, you know, because that's just the way it was. And now, like I said, one generation, here we are, we have men willing, you know, like, I'm a proud dad. Of course I change my diapers. Of
Exactly.
course I can fix their food. Of course I know how to make them a bottle.
And I think it
But
stems
that-
from,
that
at least
wasn't
in
the-
my opinion, or my experiences from, we didn't have, at least my generation, I think firmly say we didn't have a lot of dad figures in our lives.
Yeah.
Either they passed, they got incarcerated, or something happened. They just wanted to be in the kids' lives anymore. I think that turned us into people who wanted to be the best dads ever, to prove that just because I didn't have one, I can be the best one.
Oh, that's interesting.
And
Yeah.
it's
That's
sort of a
how I
driver
was
for
with my
me.
son because I wasn't raised by my mother. I was abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to be everything she wasn't as a mother to feel good. There was almost like I'm better than you. I have to do this better. I have to do homeschooling. I have to hire this. I have to do better because that person wasn't there.
Yeah.
It's terrible that we do that to each other, but I just love the fact that we're now living in a society where we can have these conversations and hopefully they get even easier to have. But to see, you know, there are men now that stand up and say, I stay home, I take care of the kids. And it's not a negative for a man. It's not to say, oh, why are you doing your wife's job? Because that's what it used to be.
No, I'm just a dad.
And we
I'm doing
put
my
that in,
dad
like,
job.
yeah,
That's it's the job of a father to always be present. At least in my opinion, is to be there, to be present, be mentally acute, be the best dad you can be to your child.
you
know what I
were
mean?
saying
And-
about your grandparents, like we have friends now. I mean, not friends, but like there's a lot of us alive right now that our parents were or grandparent was alive during segregation of the store counters of Woolworths. Woolworths was huge here in New England. Huge in New England. Woolworths was, I remember going to Woolworths with my auntie to have grilled cheese sandwiches. Obviously not old enough for segregation, but I just remember going to the counter. But growing up and being an adult and looking at that and thinking, geez, this was their normal. It was considered abnormal for a white person and a black person to sit down on the counter and have a grilled cheese sandwich together.
Yeah.
That I used to sit with my auntie and have a grilled cheese sandwich, and that realization of like it's really not that far in our history. And I think that we, especially white people, I'll say it as a white person, I have not been as aware as I should have been that type of racism isn't that far. It's not 200 years ago.
Right.
You know, it's and that's the thing you hear is like, oh, you're just wanting to blame people. That was 200 years ago. No. We're still a racist society. We're still crawling out of racism and sexism and ages, all the isms that we as really crappy human beings put on each other.
Let me ask you this, Ben. I feel that obviously we have a long way to go, and your word "crawling," Jenny, is apt because it is a very slow process. I do feel though that it gets better with every generation, because I feel like as every generation, you know, I credit hip hop with some of it because, you know, I remember when I was in high school and like my friends and I, you know, we would listen to heavy metal and stuff, but also we started listening to you know, I'm in my 40s, just to give you some context. So this was, you know, in the 80s, and like we started listening to some hip hop, you know, like MC Hammer and, you know, that kind of stuff, but and some of the harder stuff like NWA and whatnot. But it you know, I felt like at the time even I kind of had this perception of, you know, this is cool that we're I felt like it was almost like on the one hand, we're a bunch of white kids because that's all there was where I grew up. But it's like we're listening to this different kind of music, and it's not weird. It's not like there was never any weird thing about like, should we be listening to this? This isn't what, as white kids, are we supposed to be listening to this? You know what I mean? And I feel like that helped kind of change some of the attitudes, because don't get me wrong, there were also kids from my generation who were definitely racist. I wouldn't hear a lot of it, but I would hear the N-word. Not a lot, but I would hear it. But I also had a lot of friends growing up who wanted nothing to do with any of that, who would never say that. You know what I mean? There were different kinds of kids, and I was always one of the kids who never wanted anything to do with any of that, and I would never, I would have, my parents never hit me, but if they had heard me saying something like that, I would have gotten hit, I think. But what do you think? Has it gotten better as the generations go on?
I'm not entirely sure about that. I'm not sure if it's gotten better. I know it's gotten better as opposed to we're in more places. We're becoming more aware of certain things. We're advocating more for ourselves. We had Kenny. He's a black-owned business that I was more made aware of that earlier this year. And now that I've been aware of it, I've been heavily focused on supporting them as much as I possibly can, because I never even knew that was a thing. Yeah. Because I never heard of it, black-owned business. And then as I started looking more into it, that's a real thing. And then we have businessmen, businesswomen out there. So I'm not sure if it's getting better, because I think it has its places everywhere. I think it's systemic. I think it's ingrained in our makeup everywhere. So I don't know how we could get rid of it, or if it's getting much better. But I do see the generation below me, I believe it's Gen Z, they are like going crazy right now. They are standing up for everything, being full force.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's progress.
Yeah, it is progress.
Yeah.
But
when I was a little girl, I was told, sit down, shut up, don't say anything.
Right.
Be a young lady. Just be quiet.
Right.
Leave it to the men. Be quiet. But the kids nowadays, they're taught, be loud and proud.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't need to hide your sexuality. You don't need to hide your faith. You don't need to hide anything. Be loud and proud. Be who you are. That's what these kids are learning today. And it's wonderful to see that we've at least changed something in human nature to the positive.
Yeah.
Because all we ever, you turn on the news, what do you hear? Crime, violence, war, bombs.
The only reason I say I don't see it I can't tell if it's getting better, is because I think the euphemism is true. History repeats itself. If you start looking back on it, this has happened before.
Right.
It's happened not too long ago. It's happened before that.
Yeah.
Happened before that. So I don't know if it's getting any better. I think it's getting more televised, more attention, and people becoming more aware.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure about the better part.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Because not just too recently, we had another life taken by police, and so I'm not sure how much better it's actually getting.
Right.
That's a really good point. No,
we'll grab this call.
Yeah, it's Tony. What's up, man?
Hey, Tony D. How are you, my friend?
Hey, what's going on? What's up, Jenny?
Hey.
So, love what you guys are getting into right now. I think the biggest thing that comes down the wire for all this, and like Jen, we were talking about last week, you were asking me how everything was down here and all that. I think the big thing that comes down to it is education. I think that the lack of education, of actually knowing what's going on for the Black Lives Matter, is so small, because like down here, we've got a bunch of young people have no clue, like on the white side. They have no clue what's going on. But then when you go to like my black friends and you talk to them, they're very well educated on knowing their history.
Mm-hmm.
And like on the white side part of it, like they're blind. They're blind to the history of what has been going on. So when you guys are talking about like the businesses, when the guy, I didn't catch your name. I just tuned in, so I don't. What's the guy that's in the studio's name?
Yeah, this is Ben. He's from the Bookery here in a great bookstore here in downtown Manchester.
So like Ben, I got to ask, because I come from Philadelphia, which is, it's a 50-50 city. You come from down south. The transition when you came up from the south to the New England area,
mm-hmm.
Did you notice like education was slacking when it came to Black Lives Matter movement and stuff like that? Because I see it down here.
Tremendously, actually. And To answer your to reflect more on the first statement you used of how Black people have to know more about their history, I think it's because we get questioned and we'll get pulled out on it a lot more, like than as opposed to the other way around. So we have to know what we're talking about. We always have to be one step ahead to call anyone out who tries to call us out, or not to call them out, but to correct them. So we always have to be in the know. But to answer your second question, no, I mean, yeah, I did see a little bit of a discrepancy, and then that's kind of why I do what I do, or I try to do what I do, is educate. Because like I was saying earlier, that's where I feel like where it stems from the most is you just don't know. And then you go to the point where because you don't want to know, or you don't know, you don't want to be told otherwise as well. So, I mean, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, me and my wife, we went to, it wasn't a protest today, Matt. It was a gathering.
Okay.
All races were invited to this. It was amazing. When I tell you that it was hands down the most educational experience, it was held by a reverend that is in Philadelphia. I think his name was Timothy, like I don't remember his last name, but it was Reverend Timothy something. But we went to it today, and he made a good point. He was like, when you want to be young and you want to have kids and you want to have babies having babies, he said the educational factor doesn't fall into place. He goes, because they're kids having kids who have no idea what's going on. They're not, he said, black, white, Asian, Spanish, whoever, everyone is doing the same thing. They're not falling in on the educational tier where they know the history. They're not watching over their kids. Like when I was younger, my dad would whoop my butt if I said anything out of line. You're not getting things like that today. I'm not saying that that's what you need to do. That's not where I'm going with it. But what I'm saying is that you were taught at a young age not to do something that people are getting away with today. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does.
That makes perfect sense.
I would have never thought to say something out of turn, but there's a thing going on right now with TikTok where kids are intentionally
cancer.
They're going after their dads, and they're going after their dads by telling their mothers to shut up in front of their fathers to see how their fathers react. Yeah. I just saw this last night. There's all these TikTok videos, some of them are on YouTube, and this is what kids are doing to get a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was if I ever used the word shut up, I probably wouldn't have gotten shut out of my mouth first before I would have gotten backhanded for saying something like that, or bar soap in my mouth for certain.
Mm-hmm. And to kind of expand more on what
I'll tell you what, if I told my father to shut up when I was younger, my butt was on the ground.
Yeah, and I think that's what the TikToks are trying to emulate, is to show people that that's what happens in the household to an extent, and they're showing you that. I'm not sure like how true it all is, but at least in my experience too, like if I said something out of turn, I would get an ashtray thrown at me from across the room. My grandma had amazing aim.
Mine too.
So I think it's a joke to show that we can't talk that way, because I've seen it too as well. So when you do try to do that, that's what happens to you. You know what I mean? And I think that's what they're showing, because like you don't disrespect your mom in front of your dad or any parent, because you're the kid.
Because I can't see it that way. I
know what I
see
mean?
it differently through a different filter.
So it's a joke, as in I'm going to do this, and then this is what happens once I do this. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's kind of like the joke, at least in my culture, the way I perceived it. That's how I took it. It's like, oh yeah, that would happen to me if I said that to my mom too.
No, that's the great thing about these conversations, though, is that in our age difference, we can see where things kind of fall a little differently from when I was younger to when you were younger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm old.
You're not old.
But I'm also feeling, though, in today's society, that I'm getting the vibe off of a lot of people that we're walking on eggshells right now with what you can say, what you can do. And you're walking on a fine line with everything. And I'm not even talking about with what's going on with Black Lives Matter, the cops, just everything. Like we're just walking on this fine line, and technology and media and everything like that has caused us, I think, to fall into this spectrum where we gotta just walk on this fine line and this fine line of eggshells where you don't know what's right and what's wrong to say. So it's better off just to kind of keep your mouth shut now. And then people are reacting with all this with violence. Well, and that's what we're seeing down here. This total act of violence. I mean, no one has even talked about what happened to this cop that happened last week with the with the brick. I mean, and like that, it's sickening to me. And no one should be hurt. And, you know, it's just, you're walking this fine line. Like, do you want to talk about that? Do you not want to talk about that? Like, when I do my show, like, I try to stay very clear of, like, talking about stuff like this. But you still get, like, pulled in, and it's like, well, you got to touch on it a little bit. You got to touch on it a little bit. You don't want to get into it full spectrum. You just want to touch on it a little bit. Then you get into it a little bit, and all of a sudden you start seeing that, all right, we're getting a little bit too deep into this. And, like, that's what – and that's just, like, daily conversation, too, because I feel some type of way every time I start bringing it up, like, you know, in the work environment when someone starts talking about it. Like, I feel uncomfortable because I'm like, look, I don't want you to look at me and think I'm, like, some type of racist person, or if I say something, I come off the wrong way to you, disrespect you, because it's not my meaning.
Man, I gotta disagree with you here. I gotta totally disagree with you here. I mean, there's just no. I mean, there's a big difference between using racism in a term, you know, calling somebody the F word or the N word or whatever word negatively that way. That's racism. It's not you and I are having a conversation and I say something, you know, about a TV show or something in a general conversation. That's the two different. It's apples and oranges.
I think so as well. I think it stems from where you just were talking about education. If you come to me with an educated persona or vibe that you're trying to learn from me, of course I'm going to meet you with that same educational background and try to educate you on what you don't know. And if you always keep your mouth shut, we don't go anywhere. You just keep glossing over the subject. You keep passing it by. Oh, this is too deep to talk about. We'll talk about it another time. Like, no, we can talk about it. But there's a way. Be respectful. I respect you. You respect me. You understand that certain things can be said and can't be said, and then you have a conversation.
There's
you know
a
what I mean? And then you figure it out.
Political correctness and racism.
Yeah.
Is where I think what we're saying.
Exactly. And I feel like we can, as human beings, can have a civil conversation without attacking someone.
Right.
So that's all I got. I just wanted to kind of dig in because I don't really get a chance to speak on any of this because I try to stay away from it. But
well, maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, I would say embrace it.
The more of these conversations we have, the better we're going to be as a society because we can sit in comfort with one another. You know, so
well, you know, I'm asked every week to please, you know, bring it up, talk about it, talk about the views on it, and I'm like, I don't want to do it. Like, just because I don't want to disrespect someone as a whole. I don't want my opinion on what's going on to be disrespectful because I'm going to be honest, I don't agree on a lot of it from both sides of the fence. Mm-hmm. Because the violence, I agree on peaceful protest. I don't agree on violence. I don't agree what the cops are doing.
Do you think the systemic racism in our country, especially in the judiciary system?
What's that?
Do you believe that there is systemic racism in our country, especially in our judiciary system?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I do.
Then we have to have these conversations, or we're never going to get rid of that.
But that's the thing, though. It's who you're conversating with and how they take the conversation and then they turn it. And next thing you know, you're scrolling on the Facebook, which is the devil, and all of a sudden you see an article about yourself, and it's like, wait a minute, that's not what I said. And they twist it and they turn it and then they burn it. And then with the way the technology is, and I've seen it done, Matt, you can even say they take audio, they chop it up, and they split pieces into it to make it sound like they were saying something completely different. And they can do that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
People songs like that all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be sitting there saying that the balloon is green. Next thing they know, they're saying that you're making love to a balloon. It's like, wait a minute, I never said that. I never said that. But they can twist it and turn it and make it to what they want it to sound like.
Right.
So that's why I try to stay clear of digging into a majority. Like, I'll have a conversation with you in person, but I ain't going to have a conversation with you on a recording.
Well, yeah. Well, to be fair too to you, Tony, I mean your show, the Tony D Show, is not. I mean, it's not the kind of issue you would get into on that anyway, right? I mean, it's not.
No. I mean,
it's not really geared to that.
I mean, no, we're not geared towards any type of hate. You know, there's no hatred in our show.
Oh, of course not.
I think when we began this. We began the show when the pandemic began, and we were kind of focused around that. This stuff obviously started coming in. 2 months into the pandemic.
Yeah.
So like, it was like, oh, wait a minute.
You
Now
realize
the
what you
show's-
just said, right? You
What's
realize
that?
what you just said. You just said this stuff started to come in, 2 months ago? This stuff has been here. You just started paying attention 2 months ago.
Well, I think he might mean. I think he might be referring to though the protests with the rioting and whatnot. Is that what you meant? Tony?
I've known about police brutality. I'll be the first to tell you, when I was 18 years old, I experienced it firsthand myself. I had a cop that had it out for me, and it was very embarrassing what this cop did to me on multiple occasions, to the point that there was a lawsuit that was involved, and just we'll say that it didn't work out well for him in the end. But it went on for a good 3 years because of where I'm at, small area, and it's just anyway. But I get it. I know people of the black race that have been subject to just being pointed at from cops on a daily, still to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I know people that have been to jail that have been beat up from corrections officers because they go behind. They'll tell you the story. They go where the cameras are and they kick your butt.
Mm-hmm.
They'll kick your butt. This stuff needs to stop. That stuff needs to stop. All of it needs to stop. But that stuff, to be racially profiling someone because of the color of their skin, that needs to stop.
Mm-hmm.
It has to come to an end now.
Agreed.
And the educational part of it, because at the end of the day, we all bleed red, we all breathe the same air, we're all living the same life, and we only got one shot at it, right? So we might as well just take all we got, and make it the best of it. But the racial profiling stuff has to stop.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to the point that your kids, black, white, Asian, whatever, don't want to go to school because they're scared, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem. Because kids are kids. They're going to be friends with whoever they're going to be friends with. There's no reason why that can't happen. So I'm getting worked up. I don't want to talk out. But it needs to stop. We are all in this together.
Yeah.
And it starts from and if we want change, it starts from the top, and then we got to work together to make the change. We don't have to worry about someone passing a bill to have the change. No, we got to do this together. Safe. Not burning buildings down and burning businesses down and stuff like that. It's not the answer.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Well,
that's where I'm at.
Well, all right, Tony.
So, all right. Hey, listen, my final show for the season's on Friday, so we won't be back. We won't be back till February. So.
Oh wow!
And then
The season finale.
Long
Okay.
time.
Yeah, our season finale's Friday. We'll be back February because our jobs, since we all work. All three of us work for UPS, and we're about to get real busy.
Oh, okay.
The
with
holiday
holidays
season.
coming around.
Yeah.
So we went from 5 days a week to 6 days a week, and it's like, you know what, man? Time to take a break.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, the season finale this Friday of the Tony D Show. Very good.
Yeah. And then if you want to know what we're going to be doing, we're going to be doing shot collar trivia. Yeah.
Shot collar trivia.
Oh,
That's
God,
crazy.
no.
That's right. All three of us are going to have dog collars on. We're going to be doing
Here come the
questions.
sophomores.
We're going to be doing questions from the show from the year, and the listeners are going to call in, and we're going to ask them, like, do you think Tony's going to get it right, or do you think he's going to get it wrong? If they choose that I'm going to get it right, and I get it right, I don't get shocked. But
That's crazy.
I get it wrong. I get it wrong.
Okey-dokey.
Stay safe.
Try not to
Shot.
kill too many brain cells.
Well, that's exciting. Actually, from what I understand, Jenny doesn't know this yet. We're going to have a similar concept at the Hop Knot for trivia night.
No, we're not.
Nice.
That's what
we're
that's
not.
what Kenny told me. It's going to be shot collar
No,
trivia.
he did not.
So, yeah. So I'll let you know what it's like, Tony, when you get one wrong.
Well, let me know. If Texas Mike and Easy G's involved, let's do it.
All
Oh,
right.
no, here comes trouble.
Sounds great. All right.
Be good.
Tony D, thanks for the call, my friend.
Be good.
All right. Bye-bye. Tony D from the Tony D Show in Philadelphia. Wow. What's your position on that, Ben? He brought up the rioting and the violence at some of these, which, by the way, and I've been sharing out on the Unleashed page, there's been very few statistically, there's actually very little violence. Most BLM rallies are completely peaceful, but I mean, how do you, we'll take this call in a moment, caller, hang on. But how do you feel about that?
About which part? He mentioned a lot.
About
just the rioting.
Yeah, the violence.
I don't think any violence or damage to any building is ever warranted.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be okay to do, but if you really look at what and understand and be super empathetic to how long this has been happening, that we're watching people that look like us get murdered for no reason, that the system's built against us, as you just mentioned.
We have a president who's telling us that there is no such thing as systemic racism in our nation. I mean, how does that make you feel yourself when that's the narrative they're sending out there? I know when he said a few things about women, I wasn't too comfortable with that, so I can only imagine.
Well, yeah, and then to like expound more on, like you were saying, if you see all that and you feel all that and it's keep bubbling up, how are you going to unleash that? Like I know how it feels, but I would never take it out that way. But some people, that's how they take it out. And you have to be, I believe, at least cognizant to understand as of why.
Right.
You know what I mean? Why they're doing that. And if you really look back into it, the institutions that were built up that way were built off people who look like me for free.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then the people who I feel like are mad about it don't have any stake in it. They don't have any stock in it. They don't probably even shop there. Nobody got hurt. So what's a building as opposed to people who look like us lives on the daily? So, I get it. I understand. I can see it from both sides, but you have to understand. That's what I think his biggest point was education. Yes. And mine is empathy and understanding. You have to be able to do that in order to fully grasp what's going on.
We all need to vote tomorrow, and we all need to vote in November. In large part to I think bring any kind of. This is what scares me, and you guys tell me what you think. But every single day I go on and I look and I'm watching. I feel like I can't be there, but I can bear witness. I can make sure I can speak up, and I'm watching the protesting that's going on and people getting hurt, and just my heart is just killing me. I feel like there's no end. I feel like there's nobody out there that's going to bring everybody together and start trying to do some repair in our nation and trying to get people to maybe listen for a change. There's nobody doing that. Our president's not doing that. So nobody's doing that. Is there ever going to, how bad is this? I just don't see an end. I don't see an end. I see a president who's inciting the flames and making it worse. And I just don't see an end.
Well, I think I wanted to comment on the violence and the rioting and so forth, which again is statistically very low when you look at all the BLM protests. And I actually think on the one hand, I understand what you're saying and trying to be empathetic to, I think of Kaepernick. It's like, I don't agree with any violence. I actually think it does more harm than good in terms of the cause. But I understand just from an empathetic point of view, it's like, I'm sure a lot of these folks just feel like, look, we tried it, you say you want peaceful protest. We tried it that way. Look at Colin Kaepernick. You don't get much more peaceful than, all he did was kneel during the national anthem.
Or Dr. Martin Luther King.
Well, yeah, exactly. So we tried it that way, and you still tell us. Well, the reason I think of Kaepernick specifically is because, a lot of my fellow white people like to give lectures about how, it's so unpatriotic, and which it's not. To me, protest, I think any form of protest, as long as it's not violent, is the essence of patriotism, right? Mm-hmm. That's gloriously patriotic to protest if there's something going on in your country that you don't like. So I think what Kaepernick did, I think is completely patriotic, and the other players that knelt as well. But I understand where people feel like, okay, we tried to do it peacefully, and yet you white people, you lecture us about, no, you're not doing it right. Because they don't like somebody doing it, I guess, at an NFL game where millions of people are going to see it. They want it done somewhere where they don't have to look at it, which is what's really going on there, right? So I get it, but I also feel like I noticed this after George Floyd happened, the murder of George Floyd, which was clearly murder. There was a moment after that where a lot of people I would see on social media who I would have fully expected to do their usual, figure out a way to justify it, figure out a way to side with the cops, And some of those people, for a moment, pleasantly surprised me. And it seemed like a lot of us were on the same page, like, okay, there's no way to justify this. There's no way to spin it. Those cops murdered him in broad daylight on video, and there's no way to spin it any other way, right? But what I also noticed what happened, and I kind of knew this was going to happen. As soon as the first brick was thrown through a window, all these same, not all, but a lot of these same people, all of a sudden they're like, oh, wow, no, these protests, they're not about George Floyd. They're about something else. And then, and the other things that they were supposedly about that these people started coming up with were really weird too. Like all of a sudden I'm hearing about communism again for the first time in a long time. Like
fascist.
These BLM protesters, they're actually communists and they're just using this as an excuse to usher in communism. It's like, what do you people, what? Where is this coming from? What are you talking about? Or they're being funded by George Soros.
But that's the stereotype. There's a protest.
Yeah.
There's black people. Store gets busted. Must have been a black person. Must have been a black person that did it. I was watching, like, when the stuff first started, there was a young black lady with her camera, and she's videotaping these white fools breaking into this business and trashing it, and she's yelling at people, "You look at them, look at them. It's not us. It's not us." And that in that moment, all I could feel, I should say, was how much she was just full up trying to get people to just wanted to scream them and listen to me. This isn't us. This isn't the Black Lives Movement. This isn't our protest. These people are not with us.
Yeah.
Like she literally, to me, it felt like she was just going to come through the screen trying to scream that out. It's not us.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And you've got those stories of agents provocateur going in and causing trouble just to try to make BLM look bad. But anyway, my point being, though, I think that whatever violence happens, I feel like it does more harm than good because, I was surprised. I will say this. I was also genuinely surprised when some of the rioting started in Minneapolis and other places, how many people I saw on social media just totally justifying the violence and kind of going all in on it and saying, well, this is perfectly appropriate. And I was like, yeah, but I just feel like it does so much more harm than good because with every bit of it, it's kind of a gift to the other side because then it gives them, because it feeds into and I only recently started hearing this phrase, but I think it's accurate, angry white backlash, which is what Trump is staking his entire reelection on, angry white backlash. He's going all in on that. He just announced, they're ending, diversity training, I think they call it for the military because they feel it does more harm than good or whatever. He's going all in on that. But you know what I mean? I feel like the violence feeds into that.
I mean, I understand. I see your view on it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what do you do? You're a black man living in New Hampshire. You got a president saying there's no such thing as systemic racism. Mm-hmm. How do you get your voice heard to say there is?
But by voting for people who have my ideals to go into office and in my community to affect like the lower level first. And if you don't vote for the presidents, if you don't like either or, you got to vote for, at least I would hope for one. And then after that, then you vote for the people in your city. You start with your city, I would say first, and make sure that you have people representing people who look like you. And then after that, once those people are in place, then those rules get a little bit changed more, and then it works its way up. And then you have more of us in the lower levels, and then hopefully it gets pushed up higher and higher. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So vote your conscience tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, of course, we already voted by mail, yes. Which I was when I mailed my ballot, I made a comment to the postal worker right here across the street. I said, I trust you. I trust the United States Postal Office to make sure my ballot gets delivered no matter what anyone says. And I said to her, and you know who I mean by anyone. And then we shared a good laugh about that. And then she made a comment about, I heard the other day he was encouraging people in North Carolina to vote twice to test the system, which is a felony. So very, very interesting times in which we live.
But isn't that that's
so.
the biggest thing wrong with where we're living now is we have a president who incites all this negativity and violence and hate and destruction. He brings out the worst in people, not the best in people.
Yeah.
And if we have to be willing to be a wall and be like, no, we're gonna be in the way of you. We're not gonna listen to your junk. We're not following your propaganda. We don't believe it. All day today, all I heard when Trump was speaking earlier was just all about him and how this is all about. Do you know that racism against you as a black man is specifically against him to get elected? There was no racism before this presidential candidate because it's all about him, and he does is sell. And what makes me sick is watching people that look like me buying into that, and then just destroying people. They call them Karens. You see them in the stores. They're they're yelling at people that you're not following the Trump way. It's like he's the Messiah, and you have to follow his way.
Yeah.
Which apparently in this day and age is, hey, let's just revive some of that racism again. Let's bring back some good old fashioned sexism. I mean, that's
definitely see it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I can only imagine raising a daughter today. Raising a daughter today would be really, I imagine that is hard because I know how I feel as a woman hearing men in political offices saying, grabbing women, to get their, because that's how a woman will do anything if you just grab her.
Right. Yeah.
It's just, that's the example we're giving our kids. Yep. That's what our young ladies are hearing. Doesn't that sound wonderful? Oh God.
Well, we're gonna run out of time in a couple minutes, but I wanted to say, Ben, this has been wonderful.
Awesome.
And you're welcome back anytime.
Of course.
Doesn't have to be a Monday. Yeah, Mondays have kind of been the days that we've had these discussions, but we can do this anytime, or we can talk about anything you want to anytime. So you're always welcome. You fit in great.
Awesome. Thank you.
On the show. We do keep it kind of loose and freewheeling here. So if you want to come on, talk about something else too, we can. This has been awesome. Is there anything you want to, I don't know if you want to give the Bookery another plug or anything that you want to mention
of course.
Before we go? Or?
Definitely love plugging in the Bookery. So yeah, the Bookery on 844 Elm Street. But yeah.
What are your hours?
Our hours are 11 to 7, Tuesday to Saturday. Nice. We're closed on Sunday and Monday. So that's why Mondays kind of work well for me.
Gotcha.
You
can go down there, get a nice beverage, pick up a nice book. Perusal magazine.
Yeah, we just recently got Angela's pasta cheese shop in there, so you can come and grab some of their food as well.
Ooh.
Oh yeah,
I like the pasta.
I'm totally into this.
Yeah, yes, very cool.
Yeah. I am Italian. I do have a thing for pasta.
Yes. Yep, and you're the manager there, correct?
General manager, yes, sir.
General manager, very good.
Sir.
Very good. Outstanding. Have you been there from the beginning since they opened?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was there. I've been there roughly. The end of this month will be a year.
Oh, okay. Good for you. No, it sounds like a good gig. I would love to. I back when I had more free time, man, I could kill a whole day in a bookstore just hanging out and reading. And,
I used to, remember? I used to do that a lot.
That's true. Yeah.
I haven't done it as much, obviously, with the quarantine and stuff, but I would just literally be like, just drop me off and I'll let you know when to come back and get me because I have that much fun in bookstores.
Yeah, it's definitely become one of my favorite pastimes now.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and it's good for you. Reading is good for you.
So go down to the Bookery, get out a new book, new magazine, grab a nice cup of coffee, maybe a beer.
Yeah, a beer or wine.
Sit back,
on tap.
relax out. Ooh, yeah. I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go do that.
All right.
A nice new Brene Brown book, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, we got to go.
Good, actually.
Ben, thank you again.
Of course,
and,
thank you guys.